Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Last Word Sports. I'm your host today, Fletcher, and some breaking news is coming out of that NFL. We're not talking about the new players agreement or anything about that. The Texans have traded Deandre Hopkins to the Arizona Cardinals. This is insane. And the craziest thing about this deal is that it didn't even include a first round pick. No first round picks. No, the Texans are not getting pick 8 for this. What the Texans are getting is David Johnson, a 2020 second rounder, and a fourth rounder for next year's draft. The fact that they didn't get a first round pick for this trade is a highway robbery. DeAndre Hopkins, for a couple years now, has been the best receiver in pro football. And, you know, you can argue a couple other people. You could have argued Antonio Brown a few years ago. You could have argued Julio. But to me and to most other people, I believe we firmly think it has been DeAndre Hopkins the last 3 years. First team All Pro, best receiver in football. He's his stats over the last 3 years. Look at this. Add this number up. Add this number up. That is almost 4,000 yards. If not, that's over 4,000 yards if my math is correct. Um, just insane production. 31 touchdowns over 3 years too. He's like what? Like David Johnson hasn't been relevant really since 2016 when he went down with that terrible injury, which sucked because I owned him in fantasy that year. Really unfortunate. He's still got talent, and I guess it's, you could sort of try to maybe argue it makes sense with that Houston backfield. Lamar's about to become a free agent. Carlos Hyde is old. Duke Johnson isn't really a running back one. David Johnson has showed in the past he can be, but it's been a few years since he's been the David Johnson we remember being a fantasy monster. So what this means right now is that the Texans, I guess the Texans are obviously going to be trying to draft receiver uh, come later in April. So there, there's that. There, I'm sorry for stuttering so much. I'm just in shock. Uh, there's that. They'll probably be drafting receiver. They're looking at a later first round pick. Like I said, they didn't get pick number 8 from the Cardinals. They got a second round pick, so maybe they see someone they like that may not be on somebody else's board or a lot of other teams' board or may not be regarded as a big time prospect. But I'm just I'm in utter shock at what's happening here. I really, really, if I can't believe it, DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver in football. He's being shipped away like for nothing. Bill O'Brien has lost his mind. I'm sorry, there's nothing else to say about that. Like, it's insanity. It truly is. So now the Texans, they're probably going to be looking to draft a receiver, someone like that. Uh, in the meantime, the Cardinals, they're they've gotten scarier now. You know, we go over to them. Larry Fitzgerald is still going to be there. Christian Kirk is still solid. Kyler Murray's only going to get better. Kenyon Drake really proved his worth in a Cardinal uniform. That Cardinals offense, as long as they get their offensive line squared away in this draft, they're going to be scary. They're they're going to be terrifying. Their defense is still leaving some things to be desired, but they can definitely make some noise in a tough NFC West next year. Sleeper for the playoffs, I don't think they're obviously going to be quite a Super Bowl caliber team, but sleeper for the playoffs, they can upset the Niners, upset the Seahawks. If the Rams start playing like they were a couple years ago, that's going to be a fun division to watch. Those divisional matchups are going to be insane. In the meantime, I think the AFC South has now just become the Tennessee Titans to lose. The Tennessee Titans, they retained Ryan Tannehill to a long-term extension. They placed the franchise tag on Derrick Henry. They still are keeping a lot of key members of that offensive line, barring Jack Conklin. Uh, there are no words that can be said to describe how immense of a deal this was for the Arizona Cardinals. It was a highway robbery. Whoever their GM is, I'm not quite sure of the name. Whoever their GM is, he's a mastermind. He knows something we don't. If he's able to get a deal like this out of Bill O'Brien, poor old Bill O'Brien, probably gonna get fired now. Uh, but uh, anyways, in uh, in summary, the Texans are looking like they've just become a worse team. They're likely going to be drafting receiver come April. Meantime, the Cardinals now look like solid playoff contenders with this trade. Now getting a very elite well, not very elite. Well, I guess actually, I'm gonna go back a couple statements and say yes, they're a pretty elite three wide receiver trio. Any trio with DeAndre Hopkins is elite. Let's be honest. And then you add Larry Legend and Christian Kirk. That's a great wide receiver trio right there. And the up and coming Kyler Murray, who's bound to get better, who's amazing athleticism. And then Kenyon Drake, that offense, looking nice. And the question is, can they compete with the Niners? Can they compete with the Seahawks? Can they compete with the Rams? I think they can. They played close games to all of them. They beat the Seahawks in one of their games. They almost beat the Niners like twice. I think the Cardinals are now going to be a pretty good football team with such a threat at wide receiver now. And the Texans have pretty much conceded the AFC South to the Tennessee Titans, and it looks like if this year doesn't go well, they might be, you know, looking a rebuild, which would suck because that would mean Deshaun Watson likely wouldn't be a Texan anymore. He would go somewhere else and all this stuff. However, we could speculate all day. What we know right now is that DeAndre Hopkins is no longer a Texan. The Cardinals got a great deal for him, and they're going to be a scary team, a fun team to watch this year. That'll be for sure. Anyways, this has been Fletcher First for the Last Word Sports. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. We're going to be uploading more content throughout this little coronavirus spook that we have going on. Everybody, don't forget to wash your hands, stay safe, don't get in too crowded of areas. Anyways, this has been Fletcher First with the Last Word Sports. Peace out.